welcome to the Pepper Mill. We're down in the Pepper Mill with the, of course, with our show, which is called Vegas Live with Ninon. I have Garry Nassif with me. He's becoming a regular here, but he keeps, sending me little messages, and he keeps saying, "I've got a story for you. I've got a story for you." Well, he has some very interesting stories. Now, which celebrity is watching us now? Because we've had 2 or 3 of them.
Rhonda Fleming.
So, I think you've all heard of Rhonda Fleming. She was an absolutely amazing woman, amazing actress, and still is a
gorgeous woman.
And she's still gorgeous. So, sort of, we might get older, we don't lose our looks. So, how are you, Garry?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I love being on your show.
I know, you come every week.
Well, I'm crazy about her. I'm just crazy about her because you've got everything.
Oh, isn't that sweet? I love to hear this. You see all my ego sort of builds up.
No, I don't need to do that. No. Yeah.
But anyway, you said you've got a fascinating story.
2 stories.
About Walt Disney, I think. One of them was.
That's the second story. The first story is about the Christ.
The Christ? That's always interesting to my mind.
I know.
You know that, yes. Very. So what story do you...
Tell you?
Yes, tell me the story.
I was hurt in the earthquake of 1971.
Okay.
And I was working for NBC and CBS with those big shows. Sonny and Cher, Carol Burnett, Dean Martin, Flip Wilson, Andy Williams, a lot of them. Then the earthquake happened and I lost my home, and Mom called and she said, "Why don't you come home and heal?" So I said, "Okay."
Were you hurt in the earthquake?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
But I drove home back in Iowa. And so anyway, I stayed there and I thought, well, maybe I should teach because I was a teacher. So I got a job teaching and I taught for 6 years. But during that 6 years, I wanted to do sculpture. So I got a studio, and at night I was a sculptor. And I created some wonderful things, but I got a commission from a nun, a very famous nun who was the administrator of Mercy Hospital in Cedar Rapids. And
so you were in Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Iowa.
I
haven't been there yet.
Have you?
No, I haven't been there yet.
Oh, okay.
So you did the sculpture?
So she called me in. She said, "I want you to do 2 sculptures for the hospital," which I did. And then she called me in a 3rd time. She said, "I want to talk to you about creating a statue of Jesus Christ for the front of the hospital." I said, "No, that isn't me." She said, "Why not?"
Why did you say that wasn't you?
Because I didn't know him well enough.
Oh,
and she
you
said,
don't have to know him to sculpture him.
Well, I did.
You did.
Yeah, because I'm the artist and I need to work from the heart out. So anyway, I told her no, and she said, "Yes, you are. I love your work." So I said, "Okay." So I prayed about it for 3 or 4 months.
That was a good
nothing
start.
happened.
Well,
yes.
That was a good start to pray to get familiar.
Exactly.
See?
So I was embarrassed to call her and to tell her that I didn't have an image. And she called and she said, "Garry, I'm wondering when you're going to start the model of the Christ statue." "I'm waiting." I said, "Sister, I'm starting tonight and I had no plans. I didn't know how to do this."
So you just
nothing.
kind of felt from your heart, because you've been praying, that you had to say, yes, you're going to do it, even though you had been reluctant to do it all that time. Now, when you were going to do the sculpture, did she want a big one or a small one? Or?
She wanted a small model, and then she would have that approved by the board, and then we'd do a heroic size for the exterior
Of the church?
No, of the hospital.
Oh, the hospital.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I called my welder and I said, "Joel, we're going to start on the Christ statue." He said, "Oh, you have a plan?" And I said, "Yeah," and I didn't. So he said, "I'll be there at 4:30." I said, "Okay." I was embarrassed to even see him, and so I went to my studio. And I thought, what am I going to tell him? I have no image in my mind, no plan, nothing. So he said, I'm excited to see your plans. I said, tell you the truth, Joel, I don't have my plans, but I'm going to go outside and I'm really going to pray about it. So I went outside.
Another good idea.
Exactly.
Going into the right place.
You are so in tune with this story. And so I went outside and I sank to my knees and I prayed the hardest prayer I've ever prayed in my life. And I said, dear God, please guide me because I don't know what you want me to do. Please send the Holy Spirit to lead me and follow me with this project and do what you want the Christ statue to be. In that second, I felt a power I've never felt in my life. And to make a long story short, the feeling of the Holy Spirit stayed with me for 2.5 months, and Joel couldn't believe it. He said, Gary, what's going on here?
It all came together.
He said, Gary, what's going on here? Something is going on, and I didn't tell him. He said, I've never felt like this in my life. I said, look at the Christ. It's creating itself before our eyes, isn't it? He said, yes, and it was. And we finished it in 2.5 months, and we looked at it, and we both wanted to cry because he was so overwhelmingly
Real.
He really was. And I was going with a dear actress friend of mine who was visiting, and I said to her, I said, Lois, would you like to come out to the studio and see the Christ? It's finished. She said, oh, yes. So we went out there. I said, walk around a semicircle in front of the Christ and tell me how you feel. She did. She said, oh my God, his eyes are following me. They do. Exactly.
You look at the picture, any picture you look at, and you sort of you can be driving there, and you can go all the way, and the eyes follow.
So she went up to the statue, and tears came to her eyes. She said, I can't believe this. This is miraculous. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went to the hospital, took the Christ with me, and this nun was moved. And she said, I want to take this to the board. This is phenomenal. But you know, God has his ways of doing things, and we don't understand why. But
well, I have a thing about that. God knows exactly what he's going to do and everything. And then we've got to wrap up. God knows exactly what he's doing, and the only reason he doesn't tell us, and the reason he doesn't tell us what he has in store for us, is because we would mess it up.
Thank you.
We would mess everything up because we were all well, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it that way. In other words, I don't want to go left. I want to go right instead of going straight forward to what he wants, and that's
exactly.
And on that, we'll have to close out, and we'll have your Disney story another time. But I have a Disney story for you.
But I want to show the photograph of the Christ when you want.
Okay, do you have it with you?
I have it here.
Well, let's see the photograph, and then we'll wrap up. Let's see what you did.
Okay. When you look at this, walk around in a semicircle, and his eyes will follow you. He is not traditional, like everybody knows, but this is what
came
the
to your
Holy
mind.
Spirit
Gave you.
brought to my mind. Yeah.
That's quite amazing. That's definitely a different photograph of Christ.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I can see the eyes.
See
You've
the
got,
eyes?
that's fascinating. Well, Gary always
Thank
has
you.
something fascinating to tell us and show us, and this is just amazing. We'll be right back with Vegas Live.